Welcome to Badminton Unlimited, your weekly access to badminton and beyond. This week, world champion Nozomi Okuhara gives us insights into the thrilling women's singles final match in Glasgow. And we're in Indonesia to find out more about a training camp aimed at helping players prepare for the BWF World Junior Championships. If we have to pinpoint one badminton match in women's singles that best epitomizes finesse, agility, mental strength, and the relentless fighting spirit of the sport, one doesn't have to look further than the women's singles final at the recent Total BWF World Championships 2017. In Glasgow, Japan's Nozomi Okuhara and Prasala V. Sindhu of India dazzled with their craftiness and artistry in a fascinating performance that lasted close to 2 hours. Both players were deserving winners of the world crown, but there could only be one champion, and it was the diminutive Japanese who emerged victorious, becoming her nation's first ever singles world champion.
Ever since I lost to Prasala at the Rio Olympics, I've been working out in my head what I could have and should have done. So I wasn't just thinking about game strategies, but how I wanted to execute those plans that I have mapped out in my mind.
The first game had fans across the world on the edge of their seats, and it set the tone for the rest of the match. Despite trailing 5-11 in the opener, Nozomi was undaunted. With her sharp smashes, accurate drop shots, and steady control of the rallies, she closed the gap and snatched the opening game.
I wasn't terribly affected when she was leading in the first game. I didn't pay too much attention to whether I was losing or winning, or if I was in trouble or doing well. I was working to see what shots worked in my game, or what I should try in my next point, and that led me to take the first game in the end.
If the opener captured the audience's attention, the second game enthralled them. Both players lunged, twisted and danced around the court, drawing admiration from the crowd. Tightly contested, Nozomi saved 3 game points. But it was Prasala who sensationally grabbed the upper hand in an overwhelming 73-shot rally that had both players digging deep into their energy reserves. Nozomi was caught wrong-footed and Prasala came out on top to level the score.
It's 1 game all! Down, but not out! What a rally!
That was the last point of the second game, and I ended up losing it. And that got me very concerned after that long rally, if I had any energy left to play and finish the third game. It was obvious that both of us were very exhausted. It was a long match. I was wondering what would happen, and I felt like we were stepping into the unknown as we started the final game.
The deciding game saw the lead exchange hands several times. But Nozomi peppered Prasala with sharp and aggressive attacks and defended solidly against the Indian shuttler's assaults, while drawing her opponent into the lengthy rallies for which the Japanese has been known.
If I could have finished it quickly, that's great. But she was a tough opponent who didn't give in. And I went for some good attacks here and there rather aggressively, but she just returned each one. So it wasn't that I was going for long rallies intentionally. And now that I've watched the final again, I remembered some rallies being quite short. But in reality, all these rallies were constructed and set up before the winning point. Some worked, and of course some didn't, because we were both persistent, picking up every shot. So those were really high-level rallies.
The women's singles final was an epic, and a 35-shot exchange that ended with a fabulous drop shot from the Japanese shuttler ultimately brought her the biggest prize of her career.
Won by Nozomi Okuhara, 21-19, 2023.
I didn't realize that the match was over. When I saw that my coaches were so happy and the spectators were cheering loudly, it was then that I knew it was over. Once you start looking at the goal, the body stops moving. So especially in the last half of the match, I was telling myself that I wanted to play more, I could do more. So when I took the final point, I was ready to move on. Before I looked at my coaches, and that's when I knew that it was over. I was so relieved.
Nozomi overcame exhaustion and relied on the strength of her body and mind to remarkably execute deftness in her game. And the strong support and guidance from her coaches helped the Japanese shuttler stay focused.
In the final, after one game all, they had a changeover, and it was obvious that she was physically and mentally exhausted. She was absolutely tired. She was breathless and breathing very hard and was losing patience with herself. So during the changeover, I told her to calm down and compose herself, and we talked about how the World Championships would not come easy. So exhaustion was expected. Never show exhaustion or weakness to your opponent, but to stay calm and regroup and gather your thoughts. She did very well. She was composed and was very patient and endured so much. She showed both her physical and mental strength.
Show your appreciation for the winner in the women's singles from Japan, Nozomi Okuhara!
After a 40-year wait, Japan have a world champion, but the 22-year-old from Nagano is not satisfied with the gold medal she earned in Scotland. Nozomi is hungry for more and has her eyes set on the biggest prize in badminton.
I remember clearly how my seniors Takahashi and Matsutomo were standing on the podium with the Japanese national anthem playing in the background at the Rio Olympics. Just to think about it, I still get goosebumps. I was really disappointed with my result at the Olympics. I really wanted to hear my national anthem on the podium because it only happens to champions. So in a way, at this World Championships, I have achieved that. But I feel it doesn't seem to weigh the same. So rather than being too happy about it, I'm even more determined now that I want to win gold at the Tokyo Olympics.
With her never-say-die attitude and her quest for excellence, we can expect more from Nozomi Okuhara as she works her way to the highest honor in sport.
Hip hop. I'm a big fan of hip hop, and I listen to a lot of it. So yeah. Summer, 100%. We have a really cold winter in Denmark, so I really like when the summer comes. I would say phone calls. I think it's much more easy to just talk to someone instead of texting them.
After the break, former Denmark national coach Kenneth Larsen shares his knowledge on cultivating character in players. With digital innovations, shuttle time is now more fun, engaging and accessible than ever. So get connected to BWF's Badminton Schools program. Find out more about BWF's grassroots initiatives on these platforms. Download the app, visit the website and get active on Facebook. Your gateway to shuttle time has never been so easy. Coaches are vital at all levels, nurturing players from grassroots to podium, and they hold a key role in player development. The BWF has been helping to enhance the knowledge, expertise and skills of the global coaching network, and in the latest edition of the World Coaching Conference held in Glasgow, a high-quality lineup of experts presented at the two-day forum. Kenneth Larsen, a sports science professor and a former national coach with Denmark, shared his work on the development of players' self-esteem through recognition.
Knowledge is about expanding your experiences, and for that you always have to have input from the outside, and that's of course is the role of coaches and other people who have maybe more experience than players that are going wanting to help. So in that way, of course, coaches have a big influence on the possibility for players to develop. And I've been talking about areas that they were not necessarily used to talk about when they are doing coaching and when they are thinking about coaching. So hopefully I have introduced some disturbances, some new areas that would actually provoke them a little bit.
Sports science is the study of exercise, health and sport, and incorporating areas of physiology, psychology, anatomy, biomechanics and biokinetics. The scientific approach has helped the sporting world make more informed decisions relating to the development and readiness of athletes.
I think that in every sport, and especially in badminton also, the awareness that science can contribute to the development of the game is becoming bigger and bigger. And there are a lot of physical parameters you can look at scientifically, and you can improve speed, strength and so on. But for me, the most important thing science actually can contribute with is that considerations about how to develop the whole person, how to develop the identity of persons, mental competences. If you use a scientific approach to this, actually you can help players to have greater experiences with the game.
In his theoretical session at the conference, the professor of sports science discussed in depth the importance of developing self-esteem in players and how that could lead to better results.
Theoretically, self-esteem is about being able to control your environment, being able to feel, or you feel, have a feeling of mastery. You are good at this. If you have this overall feeling, if you are a strong person, then you are better at making choices. You are better at trying to influence things in the way you want. So on a badminton court, of course, you are more motivated. High self-esteem will mean that probably you get better results, you perform better.
However, even more important than building high self-esteem, Larsen places greater importance on cultivating good character and key values which athletes will carry over into their lives long after their playing days.
If you want results, it's a must. Developing self-esteem is a tool for results, but for me, much more important when I deal with my players, dealing with players that are able to discuss, to be critic, to relate to what you're saying, actually to handle reflection processes. For me, that's much more important than results, because probably results will come from players being able to do this. But the relation we have with a player, or you have with a player who's able to do all this, is much more dynamic, much more fun to have for me. So for me, it's really important that I help educating characters and help educating or forming identity of my players, because that will be an investment in the future for everybody.
A men's singles player in the 80s, Larsen also shared his knowledge on the development of tactical and physical skills in the solo event. Over the years, Larsen has witnessed the growth of badminton and the sport's increasing demands in the modern era, especially in men's singles.
Over the years, men's singles has developed a lot. In earlier days, when I played myself many years ago, we had types of players. Either you were offensive or defensive or whatever. But today you have actually, to be a complete player, you have to be able to handle all kinds of tactical aspects of the game. So you have to be able to play offensive, to play defensive, but most of all, you have to be able to adapt and to analyze a situation and see what is going on now, is anything changing, what do I have to do? I think actually that demands for men's singles and badminton in general also, the demands for being able to reflect, to being able to handle all the inputs you have from the opponent and react immediately. Those demands have increased a lot actually. So the demands for handling situations, making choices, analyzing things, we call it reflection. I think that they are increasing.
It seems the modern-day player must not only be highly skilled technically and tactically, but must also possess a strong mental and emotional character, and coaches now need to groom the humanistic side of the player to produce the complete athlete. After the break, we report on a training camp in Indonesia that is helping young players get ready for the BWF World Junior Championships. Get connected with us on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and tell us what you think of the latest news. Or perhaps you just want to leave an encouraging post for your favourite player on Facebook. If you've got any comments or photos, share them with us on these social media platforms. There's no denying that Indonesia has a powerful connection to badminton. Southeast Asia's biggest nation is home to some of the most passionate fans in the world and boasts some of the finest shuttlers, both past and present. This strong heritage in the game has kindled an ambassadorial spirit among Indonesians to give back to the badminton fraternity, helping the sport to grow globally. In their latest efforts, Indonesia hosted a training camp to help some of the national teams prepare for the upcoming BWF World Junior Championships taking place in Yogyakarta.
Indonesia already has a strong tradition in badminton, so from a moral perspective, we feel that we have a great sense of responsibility to take care of this sport and make sure it doesn't disappear. With this duty we have taken upon ourselves, it motivates us to keep doing what we can to develop badminton everywhere.
Spearheaded by Indonesian doubles legend Christian Hadinata, the 10-day program was held in Magelang, a city in central Java, 43 kilometers north of Yogyakarta. The training camp was organized to help players get ready for the biggest junior tournament in world badminton, so that they would have a positive experience.
So the whole point for this training camp is actually for the road to World Junior Championships. And we are trying to help the developing countries, especially in badminton, because maybe in their countries, badminton is not the national sport. So we're trying to help them, at least they can enjoy badminton a lot more, because sometimes when they play, it's really sad if they only play like one time or 2 times only, and then they have to go back to their countries without nothing. So this is the way we want to help the developing countries, especially in badminton, to work their badminton exercises.
With chief sponsor Bilibili.com and other stakeholders stepping in to provide support in accommodation and transportation, the young guests from 7 participating countries were well looked after throughout their stay.
The countries that are involved in this training camp is Brazil, Timor-Leste, Bulgaria, Armenia, Georgia, New Zealand, Australia. So basically we are in charge of their rooms. We don't in charge with their foods, so we are paying for their rooms only. That's all, and then they need to pay their own airfare. But transportation from here to Yogyakarta, we will take care of it. Transportation here around Magelang, it's covered by us.
On the courts, the teenagers buckled down to 6 hours of intense training every day. Hadinata and his coaching team tailored their daily training sessions to focus on technique and physical conditioning.
Basically, the training schedule is split into 2 sessions. In the morning, the players start at 8 a.m. and they train until about 11 a.m. The morning session focuses on the technical training on court. In the afternoon, we resume at 3 p.m. and finish at 5 p.m. Here, they are put through physical training.
Sebenarnya dua-duanya bisa.
There is a different emphasis in both sessions, so it's balanced. During technical training, we try to give them a good level of intensity because maybe they haven't had it before back home. We also try to keep their fitness levels up so that they're physically ready for the World Junior Championships in Yogyakarta.
Mereka sudah siap untuk itu.
And the players welcomed the high-performance training. Although they had to get accustomed to a different training environment, many of them were grateful to have been given the opportunity to be under the experienced guidance of Indonesian coaches.
I'm very happy to be here. It's really nice. It's different than Bulgaria. Here the weather is different, so it's a little bit hard. But I think with the time I will be fine, and I think very nice to be here, and the coaches are very good.
I feel good, and I know that Indonesia is so good in badminton, and I feel so grateful to be here, and I'm blessed. I feel blessed for be here.
Saya melihat sih kesungguhan, keseriusan mereka. From my point of view, I see that they are very serious and committed to the training. I feel it's very positive coming from them. They are dedicated and fully believe in what the Indonesian coaches show them in training.
With a lot of positives to draw from this year's camp, organizers are hoping that more editions can be rolled out for the foreseeable future.
Hopefully, we will do it again and again because it's a good thing, good vibes, good atmosphere also, good feedbacks. Hopefully, maybe next year, maybe 2 years from now, I don't know, maybe there will be another training camp with much more countries that will join this training camp.
Top-class training in badminton shouldn't be exclusive to the elite few, and Indonesia hopes to inspire more nations to do the same. And this was the clear message which this training camp was sending out. Let's take a look at the tournaments coming up in the next few weeks in our Badminton Unlimited calendar. Next week, we chat with Chico Aura Dwi Wadoyo, Indonesia's latest boy wonder, aspiring to be the next big thing for his nation in men's singles. See you next week.